Why do none of the heroes in Atlas have children? Because it's not relevant to the stories that Ayn Rand wanted to tell. Now, if she were writing Anna Karenina, and the theme were all the values that are being lost by a mother when she goes off with their lover, it's absolutely necessary to have that scene, with her child. Extremely moving scene, but it absolutely does not fit into any of the novels that she wrote. When she was a preteen, she started writing about children. And then at one point she wrote a story, these are just, little stories for herself, about children versus adults, in which she took the side of the adult over the child, which was considered tremendously unusual. But then as she grew up, she lost interest. She wanted people acting fully rational, knowing what they were doing. What were Rand's thoughts on children? She thought they were fine. Obviously, she wasn't against the extermination of the human race, but they were not for her. She did not want to be a mother. She was a full-time career, and that was something she never had a question about. Would Dagny and Gall ever have children, in your opinion? Not if they're created by Ayn Rand. They wouldn't. Here's this question now. Does objectivism see children as immoral self-sacrifice? Absolutely no. If you choose a child, which is perfectly rational to do, and then you choose as opposed to it's the duty, you're conforming, you're trying to live up to what your grandmother or mother-in-law, etc. expects, then it's no good. But if you choose to have a child, it is a great value and a tremendous source of happiness. I'll tell you my own experience, it added an enormous amount to my life that I would not ever have imagined in advance. In advance of having a child, I read a book called A Baby Maybe. And it was sort of a balanced presentation of all the good and all the bad that you try to decide. And the good sounded good enough, but when the reality came, it was so much more than I had even imagined. Now, it's true the negatives were so much more too, but nevertheless, the net, and I mean by the negatives from the diapers on up. I think there's so many values of having a child. In a way, that child is you, or at least it's as close to you as some other being is going to get, and you see it grow, and you provide an environment, a world that you never had, and it's a tremendous delight to see this happening. Also, at least in my case, you reach a kind of closeness with a child that I won't say is impossible, but much more difficult with an adult. I think in part because the child is you, or is part, or you're part of it. I remember, she'll forgive me, when my daughter was born, they put her and me in a bonding room, just the two of us, for about 10 minutes. And she was on her back. She was tiny, and she reached to my little fingers, one on each side, with her fists clenched around him, and went to sleep. And I never had a feeling like that before. And that was kind of a lifelong seal. It's all going to be different now, because this kind of feeling I had never had. So, Ayn Rand had a view of life, what she wanted to do. I don't criticize that in any way. But if your career and your finances and your time permit it, just because they don't appear in her novels doesn't mean you can't have a tremendous value out of them.